My name is Nassime Saps.
At the beginning of my career, I have always loved to transform. I've always loved to shapeshift. And
do you record while the bus is moving, or does it have to come to a stop before?
Yeah, well, sometimes they don't want to, and they're, Gaga, we can't get, the frequency's weird, and, it's sounding a little bit strange, and I'm like, if you don't get this right now, I swear to Lucifer, I'm gonna, I get a little bit mad.
Easter story in a nutshell, real fast, okay? All right. According to the ancient historian Josephus, Nimrod, the king of Babylon, was punished for his rebellion at the Tower of Babel by Noah's son Shem. His body was cut into many pieces and sent to the surrounding communities as a warning against idolatry. Nimrod's wife, Semiramis, the queen of Babylon, she claimed that he did not actually die, but rather ascended into heaven and had become the sun god. She, of course, being the wife of the sun, had to make herself into a goddess. I mean, that's just automatic, Now, Semiramis taught that the moon was a goddess that went through a 28-day cycle and ovulated when it was a full moon. She then claimed that she came down from the moon in a giant moon egg that fell into the Euphrates River and hatched open, and she came out the bare-breasted, Ishtar. This incident, according to her story, supposedly happened at the time of the first full moon after the spring equinox. Does that ring any bells out there?
Now, it's not an egg, is it? It's a vessel? Is that what you call it?
He said, make sure you tell everyone it's a vessel. And I said, okay.
Okay, it's a vessel. Yeah. Okay, it's a vessel. And you were in there for like a couple of hours.
I was in it for 3 days.
For 3 days, wow. That's...
Actually, it was inspired by humanoids, alien sex humanoid hybrid woman.
My favorite.
That she came down from the moon in a giant moon egg that fell into the Euphrates River and hatched open, and she came out the bare-breasted, Ishtar. This incident, according to her story, supposedly happened at the time of the first full moon after the spring equinox. Does that ring any bells out there? Just checking. Semiramis then became known as Ishtar, and her moon egg became known as Ishtar's egg. Ishtar, a.k.a. Semiramis, she claimed that she had become pregnant then by the rays of the sun, and then later she had this little baby, they named him Tammuz. Now here's where we meet the little Ishtar bunny. Tammuz was noted to be especially fond of rabbits. He really liked the little bunny rabbits. And they became sacred in the ancient religion. I mean, after all, Tammuz was considered to be the kid of the new sun god, now named Baal. Tammuz, like his supposed daddy Nimrod, became a really good hunter. Later one day, when Tammuz grew up and was 40 years old, he was actually killed by a wild boar while out hunting. And Ishtar, being the eternal sex goddess of the sun, used the rabbit that Tammuz likes so much in her religion as a sign of sexual desire and fertility. Now, rabbits are still a sign of sexual desire and fertility to this day. That's pretty much common knowledge. We all know about that. Now, Easter, by the time her son Tammuz was killed, was worshipped as the mother of God and the queen of heaven. She continued to build her mystery religion and proclaimed this 40-day period of time of sorrow each year prior to the anniversary of the death of her son Tammuz. During this time of 40 days, no meat was to be eaten. If you want more on this weeping for Tammuz, you can read about it and what God has to say about it. In Ezekiel chapter 8, he kind of condemns it a little bit. Ever since Semiramis instituted her Babylonian mystery religion all across the world, every year on the first Sunday after the first full moon after the spring equinox, a sunrise mass or sacrifice was made to Easter, in which the priest of Easter would impregnate virgins on the altar at sunrise. Those virgins then became pregnant, and a year later, that next coming spring around the time of Easter, those infants were usually about 3 months old, and they would be sacrificed on the altar of Easter, and the priests would then dye Ishtar's eggs in their blood. You'd think that this practice would be dead. But now we would never fall for something like that. I mean, after all, we've got it all figured out, don't we?
I warned you.
I've done it again.
I warned you, but did you listen to me? Oh, no, you knew it all, didn't you? Oh, it's just a harmless little bunny, isn't it? Well, it's always the same. I always tell them,
shut up!
do they listen to me?
Right.
Oh, no.
Shut up!
After a teenager,
14-year-old boy took his own life in front of his horrified family.
I saw this article yesterday. Are the temple vessels ready for Purim? And it talks about how it may be significant to consider the recent reappearance of many, if not all, of the temple vessels. And they're wondering, are they ready for Purim? Well, just a few days ago, in New York City, there was a dedication of a new building, a piece of art, they call it. And you know what they call this new building? The Vessel.
Beyonce, she's the greatest entertainer of all time. Disagree? Prepare to get stung by her obsessed fans, the busy bees of Beyonce's beehive.
Dragon's eggs, Daenerys, from the Shadowlands beyond Ashai. The ages have turned them to stone, but they will always be beautiful.
It looks exactly. It looks like I will imagine an alien. How to say shape?
Spaceship?
Spaceship.
UFO? Flying saucer? Flying saucer?
It feels like an ovni from inside. Like you're about to go to the space.
Like, I've heard a lot of different things. I've heard a shawarma. I've heard a beehive. She said UFO alien.
Now, it's not an egg, is it? It's a vessel? Is that what you call it?
He said, make sure you tell everyone it's a vessel. And I said, okay.
Okay, it's a vessel. Yeah. Okay, it's a vessel. And you were in there for like a couple of hours.
I was in it for 3 days.
For 3 days, wow. Wow, that's...
Actually, it was inspired by humanoids,
okay.
Alien, sex humanoid, hybrid woman.
My favorite. Now you do something that women don't do.
And what we've been doing with the egg and the rebirth, it's meant to signify an artistic statement of birthing a new race. And it's a race with no prejudice, a race within the race of humanity.
Yeah.
That's really the statement in itself.
Well, that's great. That's really good.